Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 1 year anniversary of Tea Talks. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. So Tea Talks is one of our newest programs at Wild Goose, and we're so excited that we get to partner with Felicia on this program. What was once an in-person event has now turned into an online event, and we're hoping that we can, make it a hybrid type situation soon. Um, so a little update about Wild Goose. We are a nonprofit community arts organization. And when we are open, we host over 320 events a year. So Tea Talks is one of our recurring programs. And in order to offer these programs to the community, we rely on memberships. So we just launched our fall membership drive, and you can become a member of Wild Goose for as little as $5 a month. And that support is really important in terms of sustaining us, especially during this time. So we are actually going to be moving from our SoHUD location to Franklinton, and we will have a temporary space at the Bridge Gallery at 400 West Rich. So if you're interested in becoming a member, feel free to check out all of our benefits at wildgoosecreative.org/support. Your support is probably needed more now than ever, as we are, a small arts nonprofit, and we want to continue offering these amazing programs to the community. So, and if you ever want to contact me, my name is Lydia, and my email is lydia@wildgoosecreative.org. So with that, I will try to give the virtual mic over to Felicia. Is that correct?
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 1 year anniversary of Tea Talks. We're so excited. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. Tea Talks is, it also stands for trans storytelling, which is what this is all about. So before we get started, we're gonna do some acknowledgments, and then we're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about things. So, first of all, hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm a little bit nervous, a little excited, big deal. So before we get started, we want to take a minute to acknowledge the Shawnee, Miami, Wyandot, and other indigenous folks as the traditional land caretakers of Central Ohio. We pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, relatives, and relations past, present, and emerging. We also want to clearly state up front that Black Lives Matter. So welcome one and all to the 1 year anniversary presentation of Tea Talks. I am your hostess with the mostest. And I just got flowers, yay! Hi, hi.
It's from your bubble.
It's from my bubble, my COVID bubble. Do we all have a COVID bubble? Because I do. The COVID bubble is keeping me sane. I cook, we all hang out. We've had a lot of margaritas, and it's given me incentive to get out of my pajamas more than once a month. So why did I start Tea Talks a year ago? I've been asked this a few times, so I'm going to address that question. Initially, when I had the idea to do this, so if you, in case we haven't met and talked about things, I'm an artist in the community, but I am also an educator. I worked for 5 years at the Columbus College of Art and Design, working with incoming freshmen, talking about anatomy, art theory, doing the thing. And once I came out and really started getting involved with the community, I realized that a lot of the negativity that comes our way as trans people has to do with a lack of information and a lack of education. Basically, people are making up stuff in their own minds to try and figure out who we are, why we are, and what that all means, and how that may or may not affect them in their lives. And it's very true that as a trans person, my mere presence in the room can challenge a person's idea of their own sexuality, and that can be uncomfortable for them. And so this will, in that discomfort, when you add it with poor education and misinformation starts becoming this big, inflamed, scary thing to folks outside of our community, whether or not they're in the queer community as a whole or not. And then this, of course, then leads to bad things being said and violence. And I am of the opinion as an educator that proper information, proper education can disarm the fear that people outside of the trans community may be holding in their hearts, give them more correct information, and thereby not getting to a place of anger or fear or frustration that would then potentially lead into violent acts to members of our community. Um, I I just believe that good information can disarm that, and so I wanted to start a storytelling group that was trans people within the community sharing their experiences on universal topics. Like we started off last year with the topic of bravery, for example, and it could have been anything. You could have been bravery for coming out, but it could have been bravery for the first time you stepped out into the world as your authentic self, or maybe bravery in just the act of admitting to yourself what had to happen, right? Or it could have even been a story about moving to a new state. It didn't really matter. The idea is to create empathy for us from our viewers and from people outside our community. Because if you're talking about a moment when you had to be brave, what human being hasn't had a moment in their life where they had to be brave about something? There is empathy and there's a connection, and they can now see an aspect of themselves in us. And by doing that, we become, again, human, and therefore not some kind of icky, creepy concept living under the bed that they have to be afraid of or hurt. And that's the concept. And it is a form of peaceful protest and activism. And for that, we try very hard to keep it as intersectional and as diverse as we can in all aspects, so that we can have the best representation of the entirety of the trans community as much as possible. I mean, obviously some folks are not comfortable speaking in front of groups or on camera, and we do what we can to work as well as we can with and for the community. So that's the why. And that also sums up as part of what that means to me as part of the community. Is it gives us a platform to have a voice. It gives us a platform to be heard. It gives us a platform to speak against people who speak negatively towards us. I very much believe that for every idiot that gets out there and says something crappy about trans people, there's got to be at least two of us that are twice as loud and twice as articulate to debunk what they've said. And it's an unfortunate, necessary way that we have to function, but we are making strides, and it is, in the grand scheme of our history, progressively moving towards something better. We have a long ways to go, but I do believe that events like this are making good steps forward. What can we look to in the next year? T-Talks has already been evolving. We originally started out as a storytelling group with an open mic, and we're still that. We have our featured speakers who get between 10 and 15 minutes, and we get, when we're live in a space, we get, people can sign up to do open mic for 5 minutes and spontaneously jump up and join the conversation. What we do online is people can record a 5-minute open mic, send it to us, and we'll post it on the T-Talks page. My grand view is, in the next few years, to start collecting these stories, getting them written down, and publishing a book about our personal experiences. And maybe that could be something we do every year after that. Down the line, I'd like to see us move out of Central Ohio and get more of the state, and perhaps move into neighboring areas like Pittsburgh and getting to Chicago, maybe going all the way to New York. I've had some speakers that have spoken on video that were in different states. And I think it's a good way to shrink the community and have more people hearing voices. I had a comment from a parent that one of their kids, who is now probably 18, had watched some of our content online, and we were the first other trans people they had ever seen in their lives, and they suddenly didn't feel alone, and they suddenly felt like they were part of a community. And that's the beauty of what this program is all about, is to reach out to those scared few that don't have community and let them know that we've got your back, and you've got us, and we've got you, and we're okay as much as we can be, right? Working towards that brighter future. So this month marks our 1-year anniversary, and we're thrilled at how much our community has grown. And we're excited for the future holds. I want to give much love to all of our speakers, current and past, and those that will be speaking with us in the future. We could not have done it without you. And a special thank you to our partnership with Wild Goose Creative and Lydia. We wouldn't have been able to really get this off the ground without a good safe space, a good environment with which to function practically. Let's see. So to celebrate this landmark occasion, in addition to our fabulous lineup of speakers, and they are also fabulous, those friends and neighbors and siblings alike, we'll be presenting a talk about the art of storytelling by my wife, Gwendolyn Glover DeRosa, who will be on shortly. All of us have power in our stories, and everyone can develop the skills to be a more impactful storyteller. It is an art, and with practice, art gets refined, right? This month, we're going to be spicing things up a bit and presenting discussions on the topic of sexuality. Now, in my usual format, I kind of keep things kind of vague. So sexuality can mean whatever it means to you and to our speakers, and so we're going to have a variety of what that can mean anecdotally from every person. Let's see, what else do I have? I have notes. Oftentimes people inside and outside the trans community, and inside and outside the queer community for that matter, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to transgender, non-conforming, and non-binary folks and our sexuality. So in Q-Talk form, we're going to just tell these personal stories regarding sexuality as a way of connecting and encouraging dialogue and education. Be you, be heard, be loved, as that is. So what does storytelling mean to me? Real brief, because Gwen is really going to do the teaching here. Storytelling to me, my background is a Sicilian Roma. I'm second generation American, and I come from a long line of oral storytelling tradition where people, historically, a lot of my people did not have access to education, so there's not a lot of literacy, there's not a lot of writing things down. So we pass our history and our familiar stories generation to generation. We memorize these stories and we carry on that tradition, tell the stories of our ancestors and then our own stories, and this way our community, our history, and us as a people continue to live, especially considering the diaspora going on in Europe. So this is my way of sharing an aspect of my heritage with my community, especially as a trans woman. So that's what that is to me, and that's where I'm coming from. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop talking, and Lydia is going to switch me off screen and bring Gwen on. So Gwen, she, her pronouns, please go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Felicia. So as she said, my name is Gwen. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I do acknowledge my cis privilege. And I, just touching on the theme for today, sexuality, still figuring it out, but I really like the word queer because it just means it doesn't fit in that heteronormative box. So that's working for me right now. I teach creative writing for international students and students who are studying English as a second or other language at Otterbein University, which is a great joy in my life. And I also do a fair bit of storytelling at King Avenue Church. So today I'm not here to tell my story at all because this is a space for trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks. But I did want to talk just a little bit about how to tell your story. And Felicia and I have talked for a long time about me doing this. We were really hoping to make it a workshop style, but this is what we have to do for now, and hopefully in the future we will be able to do some workshops, because I think the best way to learn how to tell your story is to actually share it with others and get that feedback. So I just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen and hear me. All right. So the first thing to consider is why you would tell your story, the purpose of telling your story. So number one, it's because your story matters. Your voice is really important. And stories are how we connect with each other. When we share stories, we are sharing what we've experienced, we are sharing our quirks, we're sharing what we love, and that's how we bond, that's how we see ourselves and others, and so it's a really important part of community. Another reason to share your story is that your story can actually help others. Like Felicia said, people that we will never meet can hear your story online, and it could be a voice that they've needed to hear for a long time, and your story could actually make a huge difference in someone's life. Also, it reflects back on you as well. You are also supported when other people really listen to your stories. It makes a huge difference for you. So when you are telling a story for Tea Talks, Felicia always sends out a topic or a theme. And so that kind of gets you thinking like, ooh, what kind of story do I have about this theme? What would I like my audience to learn or to think about? And how can I connect this? How can I really take a story from my life and connect it to that theme? So telling a story is communication. And so you always want to think about your audience, to think about who's listening to you. So you may need to think about what you need to explain. Do you need to explain some vocabulary? Do you need to describe the setting that you were in, or the situation, right? So you want to think about how best to communicate to your audience, but also think about what they probably already know or might understand. So kind of imagining who is hearing your story will really help you to communicate effectively. You also want to think about your tone. So your tone is your emotion, and you're kind of thinking about how do you want your audience to feel as you're telling your story? What kind of emotions do you want them to feel and to connect with you? And it's really fun to play with that, right? You can be very heartfelt, but throw into something that's kind of funny, or something that's serious. So you might want to think about how different parts of your story are going to make your audience feel. And then what part of your story, right? We have really rich lives. We have lots of experiences. So you want to kind of think about what part of your life story do you want to tell. Length is going to be a big factor. If you have 10 minutes to tell your story, and you're thinking about your audience and what you need to explain and how to connect, you definitely want to think about, is this story long enough? Is it too long? Also your ability to tell the story, right? So does this story involve other people? Do you need to let them know or ask permission? Do you need to change things, delete some things? So kind of thinking about that. Also thinking about yourself emotionally when you're telling personal stories. Do you feel really comfortable putting this story out into the public? And then obviously, if you're doing it for Tea Talks, just connecting back to the topic. I think it's kind of interesting as a storyteller to be both the narrator and the main character, but it also is really cool. It gives you this really great experience to use your authentic voice. The best stories are the ones where your personality shines through, who you are, your quirkiness, your passion, your real life experiences. That's what really makes a story connect to your audience. Some storytellers are really just naturally gifted with being able to share without any kind of preparation, but it is still important to practice and think about those words, think about what words you want to use so that you don't spend too much time trying to think about it. And just make sure that you're being clear and specific, right? Because you really don't want to confuse people. That would be the opposite of our goal. So once you've chosen the story from your life, really think about what happens in that story. What are the main actions? Since you're controlling the story, you can delete things, right? If something wasn't super important, you don't have to share every tiny little detail. Think about the pace and intentional pausing. So when do you need to take a break and just let your audience listen to you? And again, you want to think about, is this too much information or not enough information? So you really want to hook your listeners right at the beginning, grab their attention, connect with them, but then let them go, wanting to hear you tell more stories. And the last thing I want to say is, after you've done all of that brainstorming and organizing and really planning out your story, then you just get to the point where you're just going to trust that the universe is going to take care of everything. So trust that whatever you're supposed to say, that's what you're going to say. Trust that your story will connect to exactly the right person, and trust that your words will make a positive difference in someone's life. And when you put that intention out there, I really believe that that happens. So I just want to thank you all for giving me this time to share with you.
That was Gwen. Thank you so much. And I'm going to tell a little bit about my bit about sexuality, and then we will be getting into our featured speakers. So for me, when we're talking about sexuality, it's an interesting thing. I have since acknowledged myself as being pansexual, which is not something that I considered prior to transition. And honestly, therapy, if Terry is out there, thanks, babe, you got me. Appreciate it. One of the things that that a lot of people talked about, and that I was honestly concerned about when I was first starting transition, was, will my orientation change? And I've talked to a couple of therapists, and I've done my own research, and the consensus is that a person's orientation is a person's orientation. It doesn't necessarily change because of transition, but what can happen is, if you aren't living your truth in one format, it's possible you're not living your truth across the board. There's definitely a lot of my life that I was in very deep denial, and I didn't acknowledge attractions to male-bodied people, because I was trying to exist as a cisgendered heteronormative male in my community and in my environment. A lot of it, from my point of view, had to do with self-preservation. Play ball or get your butt kicked was the life that I had growing up. And coming from a background of abuse and othering and discrimination, I didn't want yet another reason for people to treat me poorly. And I didn't want to put myself in even more harm's way. So because people had an expectation of me being this cisgendered heteronormative male, I did what I could to live up to that. And I look back on that now, and I feel bad for little Felicia for having to go through that. But I would have male friends that I definitely felt more than just a friendship for, and that was a source of anxiety for me, and that was a source of issue, because I'm like, why am I feeling this way? I can't feel this way. This is wrong. And I had all these negative things hitting me. And to be fair, the times when I was a kid, the area where I lived, there just wasn't, I was pre-internet, so there was no context. There was no community for me to tap into to figure out, like, is this typical? Am I just a freak on an island here? What is going on? And it was a long time of dealing with that and shutting myself down and not allowing myself to feel things for people, not allowing myself to even explore the idea of feeling something other than a platonic friendship with an individual. And retroactively, now, going back, looking at my life through the lens of today, there were several people in my life that I was emotionally invested in beyond friendship and not in a familial way, right? There were definitely male-bodied people that I was attracted to. And at the end of the day, what attracts me to people is the person. You know, I am attracted to witty commentary and some good senses of humor and intelligent people that get my bizarre cultural references and can just, you know, start having a bizarre conversation with some kind of random nugget that I just throw out there, see what happens. Gwen is my person, and I am attracted to Gwen. Her gender is irrelevant for me, which is why I have come to identify as pansexual, because it's not about the parts, it's about the heart. And Gwen's heart is amazing, and you know, she's a kind of person that is caring, loving, giving, supportive, strong, smart, funny, and she's a you know, a rock solid stone fox. So that's also a bonus for me. And that's how love can develop. And from my standpoint, that's what my sexuality, where it starts and how it's tied in. You know, if there was an alternate universe and I hadn't met Gwen and I met someone who was of a different gender identity, quite possible there could be something there, you know. And that's something that I accept about myself, finally, after a lifetime of not accepting that. And it doesn't have anything to do with my gender identity, and it really doesn't have anything to do with what parts I may or may not have as part of my anatomy. And that's a very important distinction, because there are folks outside the queer community, there are folks outside of the trans community, and honestly, some people within the trans community that aren't sure. You know, if I am female-bodied post-transition and I am trans feminine, people expect me to want to have a boyfriend and be up all in that stuff. And if I'm not, then there's this assumption that, well, you know, now it's off. I had someone actually ask me, why would you want to transition into a lesbian? And I'm like, oh, egads, what now? What? I don't understand that question, but if you take a minute to unpack it, it's because people have this expectation. It's still this stain from the binary standpoint that if you are female-bodied, you must therefore be in sexual congress with male-bodied people. Otherwise, what's the point? And I know, like, every lesbian out there that just heard this cringed. And every gay male that heard this just cringed, and I'm sorry. But this is the reality of the world that we live in and what we have to filter and deal with. You know, and I had this is the thing that happened. When I was first coming out, I got into a letter fight with a family member. And they were coming from a conservative evangelical Christian background, and there was a lot of what some pastors have described to me as swording, like sword fighting, because these clobber passages can be thrown at you, and you can literally throw them back, and it all depends on the context and who's saying it. That depends on how it can be taken. It's very sticky, and if you're an intellectual like I am, kind of entertaining to have that kind of discourse, even if on a personal level was frustrating and somewhat invalidating. One of the things that was said to me was, well, in one breath, they invalidated my gender identity, saying that, you know, you were born a male, therefore you are a male, and, you know, you shouldn't be wearing dresses, and all of this is just, you know, this is bad and unreal. And by the way, you know, it's also a sin to be in a same-sex relationship. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. If you're going to insult me, workshop that stuff, buddy. You can't in one breath deny my gender as a woman and then also give me crap about being in a same-sex relationship with another woman. Do you see how that cancels each other out? Yeah, yeah. You know, take time to workshop that. Call up a couple of your bigoted friends and be like, yo, I got this trans girl and I got these ideas, things I want to say to her. I had this idea. What do you think? You know, workshop it with your friends. Take a break. Go for a walk. Write in your journal. Sketch something. And then, honest to God, go fuck yourself. Because what? You know? Seriously. So this is my answer to folks like that. I am pansexual. I am attracted to hearts, not parts. And my sexuality and my orientation doesn't have shit to do with my physical appearance or my biology or my anatomy. It just doesn't. Can they overlap? Yes. Do they always have to? No. So that's my little piece there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to go ahead now and have Lydia switch us over to Miss Jules Edwards. I'm going to do a little intro first. Don't switch me yet. So Miss Edwards and I met about 5 years ago. They're about 5-ish, as they say on the East Coast. And this was in the time when we were both just starting our individual journeys of transition. Jules is an incredible, beautiful, fabulous human being, and I feel like my life is better because she is a part of it. We haven't had a lot of interaction in the last few years because transition takes all of your forward thinking, and she's had a lot of things that she's been pursuing. I've had things I've been pursuing. And to that, she has been working with a human trafficking survivors organization called Catch Court and Catering Service, which is an organization that provides employment for ladies from a trafficking background, basically giving them a chance at a new life once they've gotten out of that situation. So lots of love. Take it away, Jules.
Thank you. Hi, Felicia. I'm so glad that you asked me to do this today. Well, technically, I'm working with two different organizations. One's Catch Court. It kind of helps the ladies get out of the situations or the lifestyle that they've come and like normalize. And then after they've gained some like time in that program, they transition to like maybe working for another organization called Freedom a la Carte. It's a catering service and it hosts a lot of different events, and it's located in Upper Arlington. And they also like take a large portion of their donations and donate it to Catch Court to help out some of the ladies like who have children who are like, you know, going into like different transitional livings and getting like clothes and stuff like that. Like it helps support them. But I think when it comes to the topic of sexuality, I think the keynote that I would want to hit on would be that I know for me, myself personally, when I first started like transitioning and when I met you, Felicia, like I was so, I guess I was so lost in like not having that love, that guidance, that acceptance that I didn't even know how to navigate my own sexuality. I just knew that I was trans and I guess I sort of like went off of what other people told me I should like or put me in a box, and I allowed myself to be put in them boxes. So as I started like going to different groups, particularly the one I met you at and other people's groups, like it kind of opened a platform for me to be like start to question like, is this right for me? And through my experience with that, like I've noticed that, you know, there is no right or wrong when it comes to sexuality. It's all about your preference and what you view yourself as. And that is what really impacted me to really have to step back with myself and say, you know, this is 2020 and I love myself, who I am. I'm a trans woman and I'm gay. You know what I mean? Like, because when I started transitioning, everybody wanted me to say, like, I'm a trans woman, but I like heterosexual males. So once I fully transition, am I straight? No, I don't think so. And some of the guys that I was with, I mean, like, I think I was looking for guidance from them, and I mean, I don't even fully know if they knew, because sometimes they turn around and ask me like, hey, what does this make me? You know what I mean? So it kind of was like a mind boggle for both of us in the same breath. But I think that today, knowing myself and living my life and being able to meet so many amazing people, that sexuality to me is whatever a person chooses it to be for themselves. And it's limitless. It's totally limitless. And that's really all I have to say on that issue right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Jules. I really appreciate that. Jules has let us know that she's going to have to sign off of here because of work. So much love. Thank you so much for speaking. And we do have to reconnect and have some socially distant coffee because I would love to catch up and hear more about what you're doing. Love you so much.
I love you. Mwah. Sorry I had to run fast.
All right. You
Thanks,
take care,
everybody.
sweetheart.
For sure. Make sure you get a hold of me later.
Will do. I'll get a hold of you later. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
All right. So thank you so much, Jules, and really thank you for that point of view. I'm so glad that we were able to get that. So coming up next, we have Nicole. Nicole has spoken before at when we were in the live space. She was an open mic. It was like one of the first times that she was on the stage, and she was very nervous, but she crushed it. So I'm very excited for her to be back. Nicole is a fabulous woman, and the both of us are members of King Avenue Church, you know, the gay church. She is wholly committed to community building and supporting others in their journey. A fabulous human, a delightful speaker. Take it away, Nicole.
Thanks, Felicia. I mean, that was only like half BS. I mean, I'm like half fabulous. So when Felicia reached out to me about wanting to do a tea talk like this about sexuality, my first reaction was to laugh at her, because like I have like very little experience. Like I'm just growing up in rural Ohio, just kind of a similar experience to what Felicia was saying with deep burying, deep closeting, that kind of thing. And like not being able to kind of, I guess, develop my sexuality the way that I was, internally hoping to. So, in my past life, I've always kind of struggled, for very obvious reasons. Trying to express that, and when I did have romantic partners, it didn't really go right. It didn't really click. It's like click, click. And since coming and kind of accepting that this transitioning was something that I needed to do, I'm just kind of going through this phase of self-discovery. So a little bit about me. I was previously married to a woman, and married for, I guess technically we're still married, so haven't finalized that legally yet, but it it was hard. You can't really have that kind of thing going on in your head, when the secret going on in your head when you're in a an intimate relationship. It definitely drags down the relationship. And if the person is that you're in a relationship with is tuned in at all, they're going to notice that something is off. And my ex definitely noticed that something was off. So yeah, that's kind of where all that kind of went in, prior to transition. So after kind of coming to accept that this is, what I wanted to do and what I needed to do, um, you know, it was kind of letting go of some old things, some old baggage that I had, kind of accumulated over the years, such as, being more honest with myself and allowing myself to be open to different kinds of relationships. I always joke about with my therapist, the day that I came in, and I sat down in her office and I was like, I think I'm straight. Which is, not really something that you really hear people talk about. It's like, oh, I think I'm gay or whatever. No, it's like, I think I'm straight. That's weird. Like, it was just kind of funny because it's like flipped on its head, right? And so ironically, I've had relationships with um, everybody except with everybody except for cis men. So that's been interesting. It's kind of how I got to got to that part in the first place. Obviously it didn't work out with cis women. And I dated a trans guy for a while, and I would be open to doing it again. It was just very hard for me, because he was also very early in his transition. And, whenever we got intimate, it was kind of our original bodies were kind of laid bare there. So, it's just kind of hard to be in that mind space when you're just like, this other person is, you know, getting rid of everything that you want. And that's that was kind of a hard thing to go through. I had a relationship with a trans woman, and I'm gonna get really real here. I see Felicia like glued to her screen, like, she's got her hands like this, like dish dish. And yeah, so uh when getting with this other trans woman, it was kind of, she was pre-op, and I was kind of enjoying the pre-opness of it all, I guess. And then just being kind of bummed out that I knew that she wasn't, that wasn't something that she wanted to continue having part of her body. So it was like, I don't want to pursue a relationship with someone where, this piece that I enjoy is going to, kind of, causes them pain, for one, and for two, causes me pleasure and they want to get rid of it. So that was kind of, you know, just a weird, awkward situation to be in, because it's a little bit confusing as a trans person to date other trans people. You always hear that trans people kind of have this understanding between each other, but for me it was very kind of triggering. It was kind of highlighting my own insecurities, and just kind of triggering all of that. And when you're trying to have a relationship with somebody and trying to be intimate with somebody, and you have these kind of reminders, I guess, of your own shortcomings, it's really difficult. And then you feel bad about it because it's tough for them as well. And then you kind of get into a shame spiral, and then you ghost them, and then you just move on. um uh yeah, so like I said, when Felicia uh messaged me, I laughed because this has been my experience, and it's kind of raw, and it's kind of the way things are. um so personally, I never enjoyed my parts I was born with, I guess. And it was always a kind of a thing that I knew that I couldn't be happy with, and was never happy with. Damn things never worked right anyways. A little bit TMI there, but the damn things never worked properly. So back in, so because of that, I decided after kind of experimenting around a little bit, and, I had gone on some dates with some cis men, and one in particular was just the worst kisser. We went out on our first date, and I'm like, dear Lord, that is a lot of tongue, and it is like all down my throat, all down my throat. And like the second time we went on a date, I try to keep my teeth shut, like, "Meh," and he's just like banging at the gate, um, and yeah, so. Uh, so that's been kind of like my experience so far. But I had bottom surgery in January, and it's been really fantastic for me. I've really kind of, enjoyed seeing myself naked, in the mirror and stuff like that, and kind of getting this, this whole great, picture in my head, and kind of accepting, what I was seeing back. And, it was matching. I finally had a body that matched kind of like what my sexual desires were and still are. And so like I said, I had bottom surgery in January. Literally the first day I was laying in the hospital, recovering, I was on my phone and was reading about the first case of COVID hitting the United States. So since healing and everything, I kind of healed up, and then all of a sudden the whole world went to shit, and especially this country, definitely to shit. So now I'm kind of in this holding pattern where like I am ready to kind of pursue this, these things, that I've always wanted to pursue, and kind of, get in a relationship or whatever. And now I am, kind of stuck, because of this whole amazing pandemic and the amazing federal response to it. And um and it's been really tough to kind of get through that, and be alone during these times. I'm sure the people that are in relationships have, their own problems and stuff like that. But being single in a pandemic, also sucks. I think just being in a pandemic sucks. So everybody kind of has their own things that they're going through, I guess. So yeah, in summation, I kind of like word dumped there a little bit. I got a little nervous once I got on camera and saw my face, but that's kind of really all I've got to say about that. So just basically, if any guys out there and watching this video, call me. See ya.
Oh my gosh. Nicole, you kill me. Seriously, the whole room here, we died. Died, came back to life, died again. Who knows what happened?
You
Yeah,
said I was, yeah, you asked for this.
I did, and it totally moved. Totally moved. Let me just say, I don't know what you're talking about. God, COVID life is the best. I mean, I'm watching my butt get bigger and bigger, and I'm like, hey, curves, right on. I'm watching everything I've ever wanted to watch ever in my entire life since I was 4. So that's been fun. Anyway, and definitely there's a lot to be said about feeling good in your body. So congratulations on that part of your journey for you. I know because we're friends how important that was, and I'm glad that you were able to get there and all of that. Remember to mute yourself, dear. I think you're unmuted. So with that, now as we are moving forward, once again, hello everybody. We're at the middle point, so I am going to just say a few things about Tea Talks for any people who come into this late, just to reiterate. I've got all this paperwork here. So in short, Trans Talks, or Trans Storytelling, or T-Talks for short, it seeks to lift voices, raise awareness, and inspire healing through the power of storytelling, with the hope of dismantling discrimination and violence against the trans community at large. So that's, in short, what we're doing there. And for anyone that ever comes to attend a T-Talks event, or, in regards to like participating on, like by submitting something on video for us to potentially post, we do have some basic house rules. So I'm going to review those for the general public here. So T-Talks, we have no hate speak. Hate speak includes, but is not limited to, exclusionary terms, stereotyping, racism, lewd or explicit speak that demeans an individual or group. All are welcome. So we're here to learn how to be together and share space with our intersectionality. We are all unique with special life experiences, so we want to be together with open minds and hearts and come together in these shared experiences as trans people. Respect is very important. Please respect the space, or in this case, the whatever the hell Zoom is, the Zoomosphere. So you are welcome and included here. Your existence matters. We are not to judge or exclude anyone. This is also a brave space, so let's be authentic, true to ourselves and our journeys. Let's give each other grace, especially in regards to technology. I'm sorry. In order to learn from each other and to grow. This is a space for education. If anything is triggering, feel free to mute or go outside, have a breath, come back in if you feel ready for it. It's important that we have boundaries and that we take care of ourselves, our own mental health as well. Self-care is super important to maintain and respect those boundaries. Okay, so that's a little bit there. So coming up next, I love this person. Devin Ayers will be coming up to speak next. He is the current Mr. Ohio Burlesque, co-producer of the Ohio Burlesque Festival, co-founder of Fox Airs Productions, and founder of Gentleman Airs Entertainment. Devin is an avid avocado in the LGBTQ plus community and sits on the board for Columbus Annual Trans Pride March. We are very honored to finally wrangle this individual and have him be one of our speakers. And thank you so much, Devin. Go ahead and take it away.
Okay, just gave me the go ahead.
That was advocate, not avocado. Sorry.
Oh, see, I thought that was some some slang that had gone over my head, and I was just gonna go with it because in today's queer culture, the terms are changing so fluidly. I just figured that's what happened. So, oh, I can't hear you anymore. I think that it's my turn. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Cool. So first, I wanted to thank you, Felicia and T-Talks and Wild Goose Creative, everybody involved, for inviting me to be a part of this. I've definitely been wanting to do this for a really, really long time, but my work schedule hasn't allowed me to. So that's one cool thing with COVID. We talked about how COVID sucks. Well, I work from home now, so I don't really have an excuse to say no anymore. So with that said, I was really, really excited when Felicia told us about the topic. Number one, I like talking about sex. That's just, I mean, anybody that knows me knows that there's just this small little part of me that I just like it. I like talking about it. I like hearing about it because those little things that other people say, you know, when we're in these groups like this, always tend to bring different things up. The last speaker was talking about how, she was very worried about changing orientations rather, once the process started to go, once we started to get on testosterone and estrogen and everything, because that's actually a pretty common thing that I didn't know about, that apparently people, like to switch it up a bit. So I wanted to kind of start from the beginning. So this is going to be like a chronology of my sexuality and my gayness and everything, talking specifically about sexuality as far as my capacity for sexual feelings and, all that good stuff. Touch a little bit on my sexual orientation, and then kind of bring it all home to like, where I am now and stuff, but specifically with sex. So I started out, I'm originally from California. That's probably why I come off a little bit cooler than, the average individual. No shade, just truth. So I started out like pretty gay, because that was kind of an okay thing to be out in California. I was fortunate enough to grow up during a time where people were starting to become more vocal about themselves. I remember coming out of that age where I used to play house all the time, and I was like the daddy, and moving into, looking at people in a very different way, and not really understanding why I was always much more fluttery around the females in my life than I ever was. Like, I'm very chummy with the guys, very fluttery with the ladies. So first experience where I had any opportunity to put a name to a feeling. First year of middle school, 6th grade, my best friend's brother was actually on this show. I'm giving my age away right now. My So-Called Life. And he actually played the gay character, Ricky, in that show. And I remember watching those episodes with my stepdad and being like, oh my God, this guy is such an amazing actor, because up to that point, I don't think I had ever actually seen a gay character before. So in my mind, I assumed everybody that I see on TV is always playing a role. So it's not like this is a gay person. This is just a dude that really knows how to, flame it up. So that was amazing to me. And it was so enduring and kind of safe to be able to have that conversation with my stepdad. And I remember at one point I said, yeah, he's such a great actor. My stepdad kind of looked at me and was like, no, he's gay, like in real life. That's a gay guy. And my mind just, like, I didn't even understand that. I ended up meeting him later on and having really intense conversations about the fact that I had warm feelings for Janet Jackson. And with me being biologically female, those warm feelings they meant I was a homosexual. So that was the beginning of all that. I came into sexuality like super, super early. I've been through enough counseling now to understand that I was searching. So when I tell people, I was experimenting with sex and stuff like that at a very, very young age, 11 and 12 years old. It was a way for me to kind of put myself in this pretend place. Like, for instance, I was talking about I would play house. It almost allowed me to kind of portray this person that I just never was allowed to be in my regular life. Like, if I could show you pictures of me as a little kid, my mom was all into like pressing my hair. She liked bows and shit. Like, yeah. I had a Barbie dream house and an entire condominium, and it was crazy. So experimenting for me was my outlet. It was my way to do things and kind of get my feet wet? No, I'm sorry. It was a way for me to explore without really having to be solid on anything. I didn't have to commit. And it was also a way for me to find out that when I played those same games with some of my male friends, I didn't have nearly the same feelings as I did when I played it with my female friends. So I also, the second part, just sexual orientation and preference. In that, I realized that I'm attracted to females, but I am aesthetically attracted to men. And what I mean by that is I can appreciate, actually, I'm aesthetically attracted to everybody, like real talk. I can appreciate the human body. There's something about a body in motion. There's something about somebody, knee deep in their passion. I love that. I can find beauty and all that stuff in just about anybody. And it goes to a deeper level. Like I've had full-fledged crushes on people in that capacity before. But it's always kind of like this hard line. I can have those crushes and I can have those feelings, but I've never been able to actually get it to go to where I have the tingles down there. The tingles have always come from the experiences that I've had with the females in my life. So with that, like I said, I'm a lot gayer, or started out a lot gayer than I really probably wanted to be, because there were times in my life that, I mean, I would have given anything to just for the simplicity and just for the being succinct with somebody. There's so many guys in my life that I would have loved to have been able to make that transition into something physical, but it's never been able to be like a real thing. So when I met my first wife, that was my first experience with like mutual sexual stuff. And that's when I started to realize that when it comes to sex, I think that I'm probably a lot more cerebral than anything else. I have a crazy imagination. I've always had a crazy imagination. There's something about just the presence of somebody and a very, very strong imaginative will that gets it going for me. I very, very soon realized that I was having this like phantom penis feeling. I don't know how to like explain that, but it's so cerebral. So when you're like bumping up against each other and stuff and all that stuff, like that there's no actual penetration, like right, but there's this feeling sometimes that I mean maybe no, whatever. So yeah, right. You know what I'm talking about. So that when I started those experiences, that's when I first started to have that phantom penis situation. Before then, it was never really a thought for me because it wasn't. Phantom penis turned into a lot of experimenting with all kinds of stuff. I found my very, very first like strap-ons and stuff. So we're allowed to be in a safe space. Let me tell you, when you have phantom penis syndrome, best way to cure it, get yourself a good strap-on. I'm telling you, you can get it any shape, any size, any color. My very first one was actually a fluorescent pink. It was like 9.5 inches, big, huge. Did not make sense for anything other than to wear around in my pants and make myself feel better. Looking back, that was probably more telling about myself than absolutely anything else. The more that I started to kind of, explore that side of myself, the more I started to realize that there was something, I don't want to necessarily say missing, but there was something that wasn't completely, I hate saying missing, but there was something else, you know how if you shine a light in a room, there's something in the corner. That doesn't mean that corner isn't in the room. It just means that you can't see it yet. So that's why I want to say it's not necessarily that anything's missing. I started to realize though that phantom penis, the really awesome ways that I was feeling when I have you know, those bump situations and stuff like that meant that I could possibly be a part of this other counterculture known as our transgender community. And that's kind of how it was funny, but yeah, that's kind of how I came into my transness. I'm a late in life trans person. Once I started taking testosterone and stuff, the absolute coolest thing was being able to, for the first time in my life, have a tangible connection between phantom penis and penis, because, well, whatever. It was one of those things where my journey in and of itself, because I was always so sexual and so experimental, led me to actually, I don't know, find out things about myself that ended up being pretty cool. So I've been on testosterone now for 2 years. I'm loving the way that my body feels now. I'm loving that I finally feel like I'm coming out of puberty, because it was a really strange feeling, always being constantly immaturely horny. I don't know how else to say it, but you're saying like boobs and I want to do it and stuff rather than other stuff. But testosterone has done a lot of that for me, and it's been awesome. I guess the only thing at this point, this will be a topic for the next tea time, the only thing that I'm nervous about is that coming up as a person of color in this particular community, sexuality has always been kind of a difficult thing for us. It's you know, we don't talk about queerness. We have a weird relationship with queerness. So coming into that and reintroducing myself to my Black community, and really figuring out all that stuff should be kind of fun. So yep, that's pretty much it. That's kind of the evolution of me and all of my fun stuff. And I think we can talk now. Come back on.
I am back now. Devin, that was amazing. And again, I don't know where the hell avocado came from. It's my safe word, and maybe I was projecting. I don't know. Especially when you brought out the 9-inch. Anyway, good on you.
I was just trying to be real. I was just trying to let you know.
No, and I absolutely love it. It was, I love when we have the chance to have real talk, and you know, it wouldn't be Tea Talks if Felicia didn't misread something or say something kind of stupid out of context because she's not wearing her reading glasses and can't see what the words are in front of her. So, but that was fabulous and amazing. And no lie, you know, at some point we have to have a socially distanced hangout. What the topics that you're talking about in this, I would love to hear more about that and share more, because there's a lot of cultural things from my side of the world that also has similar kinds of, you know, weirdness about the queer issue, as it were. And you know,
one thing that I definitely want to talk about that specifically, because now that I am transitioning, the weird thing is that the only thing that I'm afraid of becoming is a Black man, because that seems to be kind of a scary thing in our society. So yeah, I'd like to talk about some stuff.
yeah, definitely. We'll talk after this and see what we could facilitate, because I think that's an important conversation to have, especially moving forward with different topics and stuff. So absolutely. Okay, so got my little. By the way, I got flowers, so I'm realizing in this picture I'm very Morticia Adams. I should probably cut the head off right now. And there we go. Perfect. Look how beautiful. Okay. All right. So that being said, we're now going to bring up Bryden. And Bryden, I'm so excited for this. Bryden was excited. I was excited that Bryden was excited. And we were both really excited that each other were excited. There was a lot of excitement going on. So I'm thrilled and pumped. Bryden is a local freelance artist and activist, not an avocado. He has a focus on creating art that connects with the trans and queer community. He is also a body positive and sex positive dom. embodying his feminine side with his masculine features, this sadist is all about fucking up gender norms while creating a fun experience for all. Devin, also remember to mute. I will mute, and Bryden, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Felicia, for having me be a part of this. I am excited because I also, Devin, I love talking about sex. I don't think it's talked about enough, and we live in a society where it is shamed, and I am constantly trying to debunk or take away that shame and give people a space to just be themselves authentically. But yeah, so my name is Bryden Kolshurin. I go by he, him pronouns. I am a queer trans activist, artist, part-time dom. I'm also poly, which means I date multiple people, and I'm demisexual, which means I don't sleep with everybody that is just in the world. Because I'm poly, I have to have a connection with people. But one thing to start off with is I am a huge advocate for no shame and being sex positive and body positive and kink positive, as long as there's consent between all parties. And I feel like our world is, we're learning, but we have a lot to grow to become a better consent oriented society when it comes to sex and play. And when I say play, that's my way of saying sexy time or sex or whatever you want to call it. I love to use the word play because growing up, confusing people when I started transitioning or even being a lesbian at one point in my life, people would say, "How do you have sex?" And people would make comments like scissoring or anything just absurd. But I just use the word play because when you are having sex, you should be having fun, and it is a playful time, and it's experience between you and whomever, if it's one person or 8, but it should be a playful experience. And so yeah, that's why I use the word play. So I took some notes because I can be a little all over the place, especially when I'm excited or nervous. But I will just kind of go down little bullet points and to help my brain stay organized. But the first thing I like to say is when somebody is curious or interested in having sex or pursuing a trans person, I've gotten this multiple times where they're nervous about having sex with a trans person because they've never experienced those body parts. And my go-to phrase is, well, you're not born out of your mother's vagina knowing how to suck a dick or eat a pussy. Sorry, I just had to say, or vagina, if you want to be clinical. So it's all about learning and growing and learning together. And everybody's body parts are different, and everybody responds differently, and likes different things. And I've been with people that don't like internal play, and then with people that like internal play, and I've been with men and trans men and trans women and cisgender women, and everybody likes different things. So just know that trans person is going to be the same situation. You just gotta ask and be open to learning. So that's the next topic, is some do's and don'ts when, for at least me, having sex with me as a trans person. Do's, definitely talk. I love talking during playtime. It's just like having silent sex is very weird to me. It's not fun at all. Having passionate sex is one thing, but silent sex is just strange. But talk, like, just how are you doing? Checking in, like, does this feel good? That feels great. I don't know about that. Like, just talk and be willing to be open to being wrong, or maybe doing something that you thought that you liked it, but maybe that person didn't like it. Just be open to learning and growing with each other, and being transparent. I know that one's hard, because especially being a trans person, it's hard just being this person that's like, yeah, I'm going to expose myself to you, and now I'm going to tell you everything I like and how I work. It can be very nerve-wracking when you're just trying to tell yourself, this person likes me, this person likes me, this person likes me. They are enjoying themselves down there. I know they are. It's fine. Like, so just being open to whatever it could be, just knowing that everybody is in the same boat as probably being nervous, especially if it's your first time. And then, of course, the last do is have fun. Well, consent and be safe, and make sure you're doing your checkups. Those are just no questions. But have fun. That is quintessential. You should just have fun when you're having sex, because what's the point unless you're trying to make a baby? But there's a reason why things were made to have orgasms, to have fun. Anyways, but don'ts. So this is where it kind of gets a little shitty, I'll say. Don't make comments about wishing I had a penis, because that has happened multiple times. And it is very uncomfortable and rude. I've had people, like, they're sitting on top of me and they're grinding on me, and it's hot and it's sexy and it's so much fun, and then they say, man, I really wish you had a penis right now. Don't be that person. Don't shame my body. I have no want to ever shame your body, so don't shame mine for not having a penis or lack thereof, or having hips because I was born female bodied. Like, we are all different. And there are cisgender men that have hips and curves. So it's like, we need to take away the stereotypes of how the perfect male and female body look like, and just embrace that we have skin and we have hair or no hair. We have tattoos, we have stretch marks, we have scars. Like, we're all beautiful in our own way. So just embody that. Another don't is, mostly for men, don't assume I'm a bottom. This goes to a lot of gay guys out there. I love you all, but the amount of men that come up to me assuming that I'm going to be their bottom bitch is not happening, because I am very, very clear and transparent that I will top you and tie you up and make sure that you are my bottom bitch before I let you get near me. So that's just a nice don't. And then last thing for my don'ts are, don't shame me for wanting to use the strap-on. I have been shamed for wanting to use the strap-on because it, quote unquote, takes too long for me to put it on, and you are getting turned off in the time period that I'm putting it on to fuck you. So don't shame that. It's a whole experience, just like the word play. You are playing around, and sometimes there's little lull moments and sometimes there's high moments, and just don't be an asshole. I think that's a good thing. I'm sorry if I'm cussing so much. I'm also a sailor here. But yeah, so put all that to the side now that you know your do's and don'ts when it comes to having sex with me. Because everybody, again, is different. My transitioning, I think I started transitioning probably 12 years ago, and it has taken some time to get self-love and to really own my body. And I've dated multiple people that have told me that I either need to have a penis, or I'm really glad I don't have a penis, or I really hope you don't ever get a penis. And just, I've been torn back and forth for the good first few years of my transition. And now I am finally at a point where I am proud of being a man with a vagina, and being myself and owning my body. And I'm recognizing that we are finally in a potential generation or time that my body type, a trans woman that is pre-op or post-op, a trans man that's pre-op or post-op, or whatever you want to go through, can be a type that somebody is attracted to. And I recognize that is and that's okay to own the fact that I'm a trans man with a vagina, and there are people that are attracted to that. And there are trans men that have bottom surgery, and there are people that are attracted to that. And it is okay. And that is where me finally accepting that I can be a type for people and be sexy for people, not having to have any surgery, has taken over a decade to get there, but I'm finally there, and I recognize that it's okay. And like I have a partner that they identify as queer, and they like trans men and women, which is awesome, because that just like that's who, I mean, they're with me, and they are also with a woman, and it's totally fine, and it's wonderful because I am her type. But there might be some people that don't want somebody that doesn't have a penis, which is fine. Then go, swipe left on Tinder if you're finding me. We don't need to go anywhere on the conversation. But so besides all of that, I did want to talk a little bit about why I'm kinky and why I'm a dom. Well, one, being a dom, I'm kind of using that power to take back power. Yes, I have been assaulted before, and I've been in really bad situations before that have made me feel not human. But I know that I can take back that power and feel confident of who I am to tie somebody up and tell somebody what to do, and own it and feel good about it. But the real reason why I got into being kinky was because it's kind of sad, but I own it now, is I was shamed for so many years for being trans, or for not having a penis, or for dating straight women when I was, I guess, a lesbian. And they were embarrassed to do anything with me, that I never had anybody give me attention or love or respect or any kind of just love until maybe 5 years ago. And I'm 32. So there was a giant section of my life that I had very bad sexual experiences. And I was thinking, okay, how can I feel fulfilled in any kind of sexual interaction? And one way of feeling fulfilled is by maybe tying somebody up. And then I tied somebody up, and these endorphins were released that were so intoxicating that I didn't have to have an orgasm to be fulfilled. And they may or may not have had an orgasm, and they felt fulfilled. And then also just like testing the limits of how hard I could spank somebody or put pain towards somebody, because that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy spanking people and putting pain towards people. And that was also another endorphin release that made me realize, okay, I don't need to have an orgasm to feel satisfied or happy or have joy in a sexual interaction with somebody. And then I realized I had self-love, and I got over a lot of the bad past. And now I can have joyous orgasmic sex and have my kinky playtime with people, if it is electrocuting people or using my TENS unit, which is electroplay, which is so fun and stimulating, and the neon wand, if you're wanting to think about it. It's just lots of things. I don't really know how I can pull it out, but there's a few items. And then I like to make all my toys, not all of them, but many of them. And I mean, from being a nice fuzzy feather to a nice skateboard paddle. But yeah, so there's just a couple of things just to show you. Yeah, I mean, again, just having sex should be fun and for everybody, and being respectful to everybody, and making sure that, yeah, I mean, and there should be no shame in kinks unless it is something that is unconsensual or, well, Yes. But yeah, I mean, I'm more than happy to talk more about my kinky stuff, but I probably went way over my time. I'm sorry. Thank you, everybody.
Just when it got good, Brandon wraps up. Leave them wanting more is what we're hearing from the audience. Well,
Yep, that's what I like to do. I'm a tease.
Oh. Yes. Okay. Okay. So, well, I mean, that's our event. I'm gonna wrap some stuff up here. Yay! First of all, thank you once again, all of our amazing speakers, all of our amazing speakers, for being willing to be open and real and have this conversation. It was brought out with like real emotion and a sense of openness and even humor, which I think is so important when approaching anything involving sexuality. It doesn't need to be a taboo. It's, you know, it is, as Bryden was saying, a source of play and mutual enjoyment, or at least it should be, so long as we are consensual with each other. And I think that's terrific. For those of you who have tuned in to watch this episode, or are going to be watching a little bit later when we post it down the line in the Wild Goose Facebook page, do follow the Wild Goose Facebook page and check them out online. If you get an opportunity to make a donation, these kinds of programs would not be possible without the support of the amazing people of Wild Goose and organizations like them who provide safe, inclusive spaces for groups and people and artists and everyone to be able to meet and do the thing in a place that everyone feels comfortable in, and making sure that the work gets out there and gets done. I want to encourage everybody to follow all of our speakers and check out their individual activities and the work that they do. They are all on their own individual, very amazing, fantastic people in the community at large. And also, you're going to want to check out the Tea Talks Facebook page. You can find it if you look for Tea Talks or Trans Storytelling. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram under Trans Storytelling, and you can find us on Instagram under Trans Storytelling or Trans Talks. So look us up, subscribe, like, love, spread it on to your friends. If you know anyone who is in the trans community that just needs to watch, by all means, please point them our way. And if anyone out there is a trans-identified person and would ever like to become a speaker or even to do an open mic segment, you're encouraged to reach out through the Facebook page. I'll get a hold of you at some point. We'll talk some details and get you up and running. And as a little personal plug, I have started a Patreon page as a way to fund myself in my endeavors to continue to be functional in the trans community as an activist, as a youth activist and advocate, and also in my individual pursuits as an educator and artist, because there is no healthcare in what I do. And steady paychecks are hard to come by. So look me up there if you get the opportunity under Felicia DeRosa. That's all the time that we have. I love every one of you, and thank you for watching, and please come back. I love Gwen also, my person, and thank you, Gwen, for being our special guest today about storytelling. I'm going to give it up to Lydia, and she will close us out. Everyone take care. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I also want to give a thanks to Puffin Foundation West for funding this year's series of Tea Talks. They are really incredible and again, help us do these programs. So if you're interested in becoming a member for as little as $5 a month, which I tell people is like a cup of coffee a month, you can at wildgoosecreative.org/support. So thank you all for being here, and this was such an amazing night, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you all.